Hello, hello. Welcome to Finsweet Live Community Day. Today we have Aron Korenblit here with us. Aron Korenblit is part of Webflow's community team and is the chief automator at Automate All the Things. Every week on his YouTube channel, Aron invites members from the no-code community for an hour of hands-on building and automation. And I've been on there a few times. Aron is a true pro. He is really great with live streams, really great with content, and I'm excited to have him here. I think we're going to learn a little bit more about Aron past the hands-on building, which is what he's known for. So Aron, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, welcome. Excited to be, I guess, back on the Finsweet stream, but first on the community day. So excited to be here. Appreciate the invite, and yeah, excited to chat.
Me too. Community Day is really nice because it's just a little break from this learning Webflow, learning the technical side of the business, and just kind of meeting people and understanding people on a different level. So yeah, this is a good one. I'm going to bring up some comments from the audience. We have even a good question here, which I'm sure we'll cover. So let's bring up these comments. We have Robert, what's up? Good day. Moshfika, how are you doing? Hello, hello. Mika, salutations. Magdalena, what's up? Brandon Tancott, how you doing? Robert, a question which we'll definitely answer. I will be curious to know if Aron will be continuing his Automate All the Things channel. It's very good. Well, I agree, Robert. Aron, can you give a quick answer to that?
Yeah, no, not only will I be continuing, I'm probably gonna, double down on it. Thanks to folks like Colleen, who's working behind the scenes to invite guests. We've actually never had so many upcoming guests as we do right now. So we're actually booked until probably end of November.
Wow.
My dream has always been to do more. For the first time in the last 2 weeks, we had someone else host. So Connor hosted 2 episodes, and that might be an avenue where we have 2 a week. That has always been a dream of mine, where someone else is hosting. For now, it's just when I'm on vacation. So Robert, rest assured, Automate All the Things is not only continuing, but expect more. So I'm super excited about that.
Super valuable. Love that answer. Let's bring up Sean Duval. Good day, FinFam. Sean, great to have you here. We appreciate you. Dale Jensen, what's up? How you doing? We have Rhino Rain. Hello from South Africa. Finsweet is dominating. Love the pun. Great. We have Rohan. Hello, hello. Let's bring up a few more. Supercharge. We have Christian Schmidt. And let's do one more here. Stefan. Nice. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's get into this great, great stream. So the first part of Community Day is hearing Aron's story. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Aron, please tell us your story from the beginning of your professional career until today. Tell us that progress and land us on today.
Yeah, sure. I'll do the medium version, if you will. Little known fact: I have a degree in mathematics. I started actually as a software engineer, and I found it too difficult to get things running. No joke. Like I remember this was a while ago, but like it was like, oh, what you need to update this version. Do you have this set up? And there was like so much work that went into like before you actually got to like the thing you wanted to do. So I was like, let me just use pen and paper and do math. So I did a degree in math, and for me when I was younger, it was very important to have like a stable career. That was like my goal as a kid. So I was actually an actuarial analyst, which is like the most stable career you could have. I started becoming an actuary. I absolutely hated it. I hated the just yeah, I just didn't enjoy the job. And so I'm gonna speed up here because there's quite a bit here. So I did a master's in finance, thinking maybe banking was the solution. I don't know why I would think that was the case, but then somehow got started working in startups, and so started working, in tech startups. And one thing led to another. I started automate all the things. Happy to chat more about the backstory there. Um, Joined Airtable and now join Webflow. So that is the speed up version of it. And yeah, now for me, this is like the thing I'm going to do for a while. Like I love teaching people how to use the web to build something that they didn't think they could. So taking the sting out of words like APIs and webhooks and logic and authentication, JSON, refresh tokens, whatever it is. I love it when someone comes to me and says, hey, like, you made me not fear this, and here's how I used it. And so yeah, I'm just super grateful and happy that I found something that I both enjoy and that people get value out of, and that's really a dream come true.
That's great to hear. And I'm really interested with working at Airtable, now working at Webflow. These are two big, valuable names in the tech industry now. So, do you now consider your job stable? Do you have this feeling of stability in the tech world?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's a really good question. I think that search of stability stopped being so important to me when I started actually enjoying the thing that I did, right?
Yeah.
Um, for me, I'm lucky enough that I am good at something. I think that, these big companies or growing companies see value in, and that's amazing. That's rare, right? And so for me, yes, obviously I feel much more stable now, but I'm still very kind of hungry on this idea of, can I do more? Can I teach more? Can I bring more value to folks? How do I um, do this more? That's more the question I ask myself now, more so than like, am I going to have a job in 3 months? I'm less worried about that. Yeah.
I think that's the real mentality of the tech world. Can I do more? Can I improve it? Can I get to the next level? Can this V1 turn into a much better V2? So yeah, it sounds like you're right aligned with this kind of industry. I love that. Now, Aaron, next question is, why do you want to be featured on Community Day? What's the reason you are here?
Yeah, so I'm very new to the web. I mean, I thought about this question. Like, I'm Webflow community adjacent, right? In that, a lot of the work I do revolved around Webflow, right? My whole website is built on Webflow. I've had you on. I've had a lot of folks from the community on. But I thought it was important to kind of come here, say hi to everyone, say I'm super excited to meet you. I'm super excited to take that work that I've done and apply it in a more Webflow lens, right? So, are there low code concepts uh, on Webflow that you're saying, hey, this, I would love to learn more about this? How to use the API? How does authentication work? What is a webhook? How do I use this or that? Like, and that's really why I'm here, is more of like, hi, I'm here, I'm really excited to be a bigger part of this community, and I want to hear from everyone, what is it that you want to learn, right? And that's going to inform a lot of what it is that I hope to teach at Webflow and empower you all to build better applications for the web and build them on Webflow. So yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. Grateful for the opportunity to work at Webflow, and truly grateful to be a part of the community. And everyone's been so welcoming so far. So I'm like super excited. Trying not to speak over myself in excitement, but yeah.
That's great. You're coming at a perfect time, in my opinion, that people are now getting to the point where they're understanding Webflow so well that they're looking for that next step. They're looking for, how do I understand this API? And how does this API work with my Webflow build? And now with Logic, this is even more clear that this is the direction a lot of people want to go in. I think
Mhm.
if you had this mission 5 years ago in Webflow, there'd be nobody interested, right? I've been in Webflow for 6, almost 7 years now, and in the beginning, it was true no code, not low code. But
Right.
as we transform into this low code type feel of Webflow, I think you're going to be a major guide for those people who are interested in learning that. So that's great.
Yeah.
Love that answer.
I just want to say a word here. I don't think that 5 years ago you would have been, oh, we're not interested, because you reached out to me 3 years ago where I had like 2 streams that no one had watched, and you said, hey, like, how can Finsweet help, prop up the AATT brand? And I think part of that is because you saw I can't design, for worth. How do you say? What is the opposite of my weight in gold? My weight in feathers. I could not. I weigh feathers and design. I don't know what I'm saying. Ultimately, I'm a crappy designer, is what I'm saying. And then you kind of partner with me. So I think a few people, you included, would have seen the value in working in a low code environment. But I do agree with you that it is much more accessible today, right? And it is much more a focus of every no code company to say, hey, can we push the ceiling higher, right, in terms of what you can do with no code applications, and how do we lower the floor? How do we make every no code application more and more accessible? So you're always pushing on those two edges, and I really hope to help people push the ceiling of what they can do with Webflow and no code applications out there.
That's a nice way to put it. It's I think, a much better way to put it than how I said it. And that comes to my mind because our first community project at Finsweet was Finsweet Hacks. And
Mm,
when we released Finsweet Hacks, almost nobody cared about it. I mean, those videos had like 10 to 20 views for a long
right,
time. So, yeah, that's this kind of transition is it's just evident. It's
right.
happening. And I think that's why a lot of people are watching now, and a lot of people are on AATT, and a lot of people are signing up for Code Meets No Code, which I'm sure we'll talk
Yep.
about.
Sure.
But before we do that, let's look at 2 pieces of work that you're most proud of. This is where we
Sure.
go into screen share mode, and
Yeah.
Aaron
Okay.
will show us some great things he's done.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna let me talk to you about the way I run AETT. I know it's a little meta, but I'm extremely proud of the workflow we've built over the last 3 years, mainly with Colleen, who runs a lot of the operations at AETT. So shout out to her. So this is my website, built by Finsweet. This is not a plug. Joe reached out to me 3 years ago and was like, "Hey, can we build your website because it's ugly?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so a lot goes into a stream, as you know, Joe. And it's a lot of moving pieces. So I have guests, I have a calendar, I need to have a YouTube link, I need to create a thumbnail, I need to see that hosted in the Webflow CMS, I need to get chapters. There's a lot that goes into every one of these streams. And as like a solo builder, it just was a lot. Um, and by the way, if anyone has any questions about how I've built this, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer. So ultimately, everything ends up here on my website, but I actually very rarely go to the website itself. I manage everything out of Airtable. So how I do that is I have um, kind of all of the metadata around every single stream here in Airtable. Actually, taking a step back, not only do I have all of the metadata, I also do all of the guest management in Airtable as well. So if you ever join as a guest, I share this form with you. Let's do the whole thing. Let's do the whole flow where you give me all of your metadata. You actually select a date where you want to join the stream. That ends up in my guest table right here. So here's every guest that has ever joined AETT. I have a few scripts to remove background, to reduce the size of your image. And then with that, I actually create the stream itself. So I have a few statuses. Unscheduled means that no one is scheduled. Scheduled means I have a guest. And once I have a guest, I start saying, okay, what is my title? When is the stream going to happen? What is the YouTube link? What is the thumbnail? Happy to show you how I automate the thumbnail. A bunch of Webflow metadata, blah, blah, blah. And the magic of it is that I have this send to Webflow. This is a script that runs, takes all this metadata and sends it to Webflow. So let's do a test. So let's imagine, next week's stream, we want to change the name. So add search to any Webflow site. Let's do that using Algolia test. So we see it, right? Okay. So now I have this little send to Webflow. This runs a script. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, it all worked. Updated CMS item. If we go to my website, I'm going to try this live. I don't remember if I publish it or not. I think I do. Yeah, there you go. Add search any Webflow using Algolia test, right? So for me, it was important to have like a single source of truth for all things, automate all things, because Webflow is one amongst many CMSs that I send information to, YouTube being another, Twitter, whatever you have you. And so, yeah, so everything you see here, even the calendar here, the schedule, all of this is managed out of Airtable. Yeah. So this is probably the project I'm most proud of. It's been three plus years. We're about 100 streams, I think, relatively soon. And yeah, it's a few applications put together, and I'm extremely proud of this project and happy to dig into any of the details if folks are curious of how I run it.
That's great. It's such a clean system. What you just showed there. It looks very organized. That send to Webflow button, super powerful. Everybody listening, if you have questions, now's the time to ask those. Aron will answer them live.
Yeah, let me undo some of these tests here. So I was doing some changes.
Yes.
Okay, that's done. That's done. Isn't that beautiful? Like it's just a few changes and then it's done. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And the one source of truth is so important. You have to have one source of truth. If you're managing the content in two different places, it becomes dangerous.
Absolutely. Dangerous.
Aron, I have a question for you. You've been doing Automate All the Things for 3 years. And I'm sure that when you first started, there were very few people watching these streams and interacting with the content.
Yes.
Can you give some words of wisdom to the viewers for how you powered through that? How you continued making that content and continued doing this work, even though it just wasn't super popular to start with?
I'll be very candid. I got a therapist. No joke. I got a therapist.
Good.
I spoke to my therapist every week, and a lot of that work, she asked me, why do it? Do you do it because people watch, or do you do it because you think that it's valuable to the maybe one or two people that watch, right? So I think the learning from that was that obviously you want some people to watch. If you told me three years down there's going to be 0 people watching your thing, right, I would probably not do it because it's not valuable to anyone. That said, in the beginning, I really just wanted like one person to say, hey, that's cool, right? Or this was useful. And so I didn't focus on like the absolute viewership. I focused on like, can I identify one person that, found it valuable? And I would actually like actively write to people weirdly as like, hey, I think you will find this useful, right? And that's how you get that like first few folks. And so my therapist would always remember like, why are you doing this? And can you think of a few people who found value in it? And if you have that, if you like doing it, you are helping a few people, that was enough for me to get over the hump. But man, it was a real hump. And if I would have stopped at that moment, I would not have hated myself for it, because it was really hard. It was really hard when you're doing something for what feels like nobody, especially in like a live stream format. So yeah, if just think of the few people. I remember, I'm happy to tell a story about like the first person who ever joined my stream. and me like aggressively trying to keep the person in the chat because I had never talking to some. I kept referencing the chat, but there was no one in the chat, right? And I kept saying like, "Oh, if you have questions, ask questions." I could see the 0 on YouTube, right? Um, and so yeah, I remember the first person who joined. I was like, "Hi, I like. What do I have to do to keep you here? Like, whatever it is that you like, I will do 2 hours of consulting here if you want me to. Whatever it is that you need." Um, and so yeah, so luckily there started to be 3 4 people regularly, folks like Penny, Colleen, and others, yourself, Matthew Munger from the community, Ben, and others. um so so yeah, you don't need much is what I, and I'm happy to like talk more about this. It was a big learning moment for sure.
That's great advice. It really is. And I think a lot of people don't do content because they did content, nobody watched it, and they became unmotivated.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this kind of advice of just find one person that you helped. Make sure that you're recording content not for numbers, but because you know it's valuable.
Yeah,
And it,
I,
that I mean, it's great words of wisdom. It is. That's
yeah,
what I think. If people followed that, we'd have 10 times the amount of Webflow content or more.
absolutely. I think it's very easy. Like, I want to avoid becoming that person who sits here and says it was predetermined, it was preordained. Obviously, I had this fantastic idea. Duh, a 1 hour show every week about automation with no code tools. Of course, it was going to work, right? And like my first show was a banger, right? And every show since is a banger, right? Um, what helped me is that I thought of what is one thing I enjoy doing that I can do week over week over week over week, right? And for me, that's a live stream, right? And I get to meet people, they get to teach me things. The first 10 shows, I was by myself. And if you go back to those shows, I am like struggling to find ideas. I am like spending the whole week trying to figure out an automation that is going to impress this community. And someone had like the bright ideas, like, why don't you just invite people? And I was like, oh, of course, I'm an idiot. I'm personally an idiot because I didn't think of that, and I'm also an idiot because like I think I can teach people things every week. Of course I can, right? And that really changed the trajectory of the show. And when I started inviting people, we had Victoria on, God bless her, who we did like, oh, let's consult with someone. Someone gave us an Airtable problem and we helped them through it. And then I realized like maybe that's not the format we want. So I invited people to teach me something and other tools. So there was a lot of iteration there, but always at the base of it was like, what is one thing I can do regularly that I enjoy doing that does help a few people? But frankly, like I don't look at YouTube stats. I don't think about it that much. Maybe I should a little more. I don't know. Um, and yeah, I just love that people find it valuable. I love that people are like, "Hey, this helped me do a thing I didn't know how to do," and that's just great. That's just great, and that is what motivates me every morning. It's definitely not like YouTube subscribers or whatever. Those are just proxies for the folks that are learning things, and that's just incredible.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love how you answered all those questions. Now, let's bring up some comments from the audience uh, validating that automate all the things and your continuation was the right move. Penny says, I'm so glad Aaron persevered. He's given so much to this community. I agree. Dale Jensen, Aaron, your love for and the ability in automation is obvious and amazing. Makes a design oriented guy like me want to also learn more functionality. Inspired. Love it.
Well, Dale,
Dave,
I will be honest. So, Dale, like I admire everyone's design capabilities. Like the stream, I'm like, man, the stream looks so good, right? And everything that you all do is great. So, yeah, I'm hoping to learn a few design things maybe as well. I don't have high hopes, but maybe I have a lot to learn from. I definitely have a lot to learn from the community. So, really excited about that.
There's always a lot to learn. Yeah, that's great. And we'll bring up this last one from Javi. First time I learned of Automate All the Things, I thought it was a big company, not just one person. That that's an interesting comment. So that means that your content was obviously at a certain level, the production value was at a certain level, your confidence was at a certain level, where people look at this and think this is much bigger than it is.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen all the mistakes that I make on the stream? Like, hopefully, if I had a bunch of people, there would be. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I appreciate that. I hope. Uh, I guess what got me, why that's possible, I think, is that it's a progression, right? So if you follow along and you watch those first streams and you look at my website and what it looked like 3 years ago, it would be obvious to you that it's like incrementalism, right? There's a little bit better every time, right? Um, and for me, that progression is not so noticeable because I just live it every week. I identify things that could be better, and then I improve on those things. But I'm flattered that you think it'd be multiple people. It is actually, so it's me and Colleen does, phenomenal work around getting guests, making sure that things are updated, and really is what powers a lot of automate all things. So she's a great partner, and it was an honor to have her as a guest for the first time last week. So yeah, exactly, just great, just great. I'm flattered. I'm honored.
It's nice. It's nice to get support, right? It's nice for people to give positive comments to you. So if you're anybody in the audience, if you are watching a streamer or you're watching a YouTube video, one comment can change that person's view on the content. So just leave a comment, right? If you see a YouTube video, someone making a Webflow tutorial or any kind of tutorial, and there's 100 views on that video and you found it valuable, leave a comment and say, this was really valuable. That one
Yeah.
comment could change someone's perspective of the next year of filming, right? And it kind of seems like you were there. Like that one person that was in your stream was enough to motivate you to keep going and say, hey, I can help this one person.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I that is so true, and I think it's a great point of like, if you appreciate someone's work, let them know, right? They may be having immense self doubt, they may be overwhelmed, they may be asking themselves, why am I doing this? So I remember when I launched the Essential Guide to Airtable, uh, no one bought it, but actually, do we have some? Can I do a side story here? Am I allowed to? Is that a yes or is that a stop? That's a
No,
yes.
I purchased the course. I was
Yes, yes, you did.
one of the
So
people.
one of yeah. So funny enough, someone bought it. Someone named Victor, and I was like, oh my god, this person who has no idea who I am just purchased. It was I got $2.50 from that sale. That didn't matter to me. It didn't matter to me that it didn't even cover like the latte that I was going to celebrate with a little later. Um, and so I was like, oh my god, like I put this thing on the web, right? And it took me forever to do. It took me months, right? I had changed my Instagram like title to link my personal to link to my course because I didn't know how to market, and no one who cared. I don't even use Instagram, but this person bought it, and I was like, oh man, what a dream, and then B, I was like, oh, this is gonna take off, but then no one bought it for a while, obviously, and then like there was trickled, you bought it, and then there was a few folks, but 6 months later, that was like motivating. I was like, one person bought it. That's fantastic. 6 months later, I learned that it was my mom's boyfriend. Um, and but I did what I and he didn't like. I don't think he even watched it, but it didn't even matter. Just the fact that one person bought it was just like so meaningful to me that I was like, oh, like I should keep doing this. So yeah, so it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much.
That's a great story. That had me laughing. Nice. Okay, so you can be that one person, everybody in the audience. You can be that one person for somebody else. That's the message for this section. Now, let's go to the next section of the show, key strengths and qualities. So, Aron, tell us, what do you do really well? What is your key strength and quality?
Um, I think mainly it's a little weird to be like I am good at this. I think what people come to my content for or is essentially there's a lot that gets lost in translation, right? So I'll say the word webhooks or something, and I have this assumption because of the audience that people understand what I'm saying. It's true in like business meetings, right? You come and there's like acronyms and people are, and you're like, oh my god, like what are we talking about? And often people don't want to like ask, they're ashamed or they're shy to be like I have no idea what an SDK is, right? And so I think part of what makes me successful, I think, or part of my success can be attributed to the fact that I can pick up on that, especially in technical conversations, and say, hey, like how do we explain that to an audience that might not know what it was, and how do we make it progressively more palpable? um, and that is a lot of practice, right? A lot of like catching people on the fly and saying, hey, you either went too quickly there, or that was unclear, or you use words that don't necessarily mean things. And for me, the big thing, and hopefully people still think that this is the case, is I slow things down, right? So when a guest comes on the stream, I always tell them, hey, if whatever you expect it to show, cut it in half, because that is what time it takes to truly show something simple in a way that is accessible. And so, keeping that in mind and always being aware of like the audience and who they are and what their level is, and making sure that it's accessible to them.
That's a skill. That's not something that just comes. That this is something that you can improve on and get better. So I like that answer. Uh, I think I think the reason why a lot of people have trouble integrating JavaScript libraries into Webflow is because JavaScript libraries are written by technical folks. They're written
Mhm.
by people who are technical and really good at explaining technical concepts to other technical people.
Right.
So you read these docs, and they may be amazing docs and super organized and wonderful developer docs, but you read them and say, I have no idea where to start with this.
Right.
Uh, I don't even know this is step one, and I can't even get through step one because
Yeah.
the documentation was not explained to non-technical folks. So the ability to translate this technical to non-technical, it's a skill. And I don't think I think most technical people don't have that skill.
Yeah. So often the words that you use or the simplicity with which you speak are dictated by your audience, right? So if I go to a technical audience and I say, install Docker, everyone's like, yeah, well, great, done. Of course I have Docker. Like it's installed, it's done, right? But if you're like, what is Docker? What is this stuff like? And then that's like a one line. That's like step one. There's no like, hey, let me explain what this is, which makes sense, right? And so often you'll depending on the audience, and what I try to do is like bridge that divide between someone who's more technical and um, familiarize or take the sting out of or explain deeper those things that I know or could potentially be stopping. Like Webflow and Airtable and Zapier are all examples of abstractions of things that are super intimidating, right? Like writing CSS is like, whew, honestly, if I had to write CSS all day, I'd be like, hey, you're a genius. B, like it's really hard. It's really hard to write CSS, but Webflow makes that possible and makes it intuitive. And relational databases like are not intuitive for folks who don't use relational databases, but Airtable makes that intuitive for folks. Um, so yeah, it's great. It's super fun too because I get to learn stuff all the time, right? And it's super exciting that I can be that conduit to an extent for folks grasping these more technical concepts and doing more with less.
Yeah, we can look at these tools like Airtable and Webflow as visual mediums to help explain these topics. So we have the
Mhm.
CSS, it's hard. HTML, it can be seen as hard.
It's all
And
hard.
and
It's all
yeah,
hard.
it's all hard, right? And
It's all hard.
Webflow is this visual tool to help us understand this and communicate
Yeah,
with these languages.
absolutely.
So yeah, that's and just the fact that you are good at explaining Airtable. Let's bring up this comment from Colleen. Aron is amazing at explaining concepts on the fly without prep too. The fact that you can explain this, it's a valuable education tool, and especially in the context of this community, right? This community that is a little technical, but when you look at the full spectrum of technical knowledge, very low on the technical level, and me included, you included, right? I mean, the
Yeah,
amount of technical knowledge is massive, but you know
right.
how to communicate at this level incredibly well.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Colleen. And absolutely, I think um, it's there's never been a better time, I guess, to not be technical, right? And that's actually going to be more and more true, right? Because we're always going to be lowering the floor on what's possible, and raising the ceiling and making more complex more possible. And yeah, uh, hopefully my lack of prep doesn't show too much. I try to be just prepared enough, because if you're too prepared, I it often feels like a demo, right? And so I always try to. So when I do make a mistake on the stream, that's like a real mistake. I'm not like planting that mistake, or the feedback that I've actually gotten from a lot of folks is that the mistakes are actually very valuable because they show how to debug, what the issues could be. And if you are the type of person to watch a 1 hour stream about something, you want the details, right? You're not there to like skim through, or maybe you are skimming and that's fine. But what I mean is those errors are extremely valuable. So so yeah, I my lack of prep is prep. I hope to get the right level of preparation. So
It's a
if I'm
strategy.
It is a strategy, one that
Nice.
caters to my personality very well. So I don't know if it's my personality, or I'm trying to like justify myself here, but it's been working for me so far.
That's good. That works. Let's bring this up from Penny. Teaching something is the best way to learn it more deeply. I agree with this so strongly. This is something that I've agreed with for probably about 12 years, maybe 10 years, that when you're teaching something, even if it's the most simple thing, right? You know this so well and you don't need to learn it more, but when you teach it, you
Mm.
do learn it more. You learn on a deeper level as a teacher. So I'd love your opinion on this. What do you think about this?
I think that's true. Obviously, everything Penny says is true. Penny is the whisperer of truths. Um, I the that I think so. I think that's true. When you are trying to teach something, you have to understand the edge cases. You have to put yourself in like in someone else's shoes to understand what their challenges could be, and that helps you understand what you're doing much better, right? And then seeing how other folks are teaching and what their tricks are. Um, I will say one selfish note about this is that my format um, is challenging because I learn just enough to want to be deeply involved, right? And I don't have the time, unfortunately, to be like, I want to learn all of these tools from back to front, right? And it's funny enough, you could see that in the streams itself. Like there was a moment where like Parabola was the only thing I wanted to stream because I was like, I want to learn this tool. And then there was like, we're gonna do 5 episodes on webhooks because I need to learn everything about webhooks. Now that we have different guests on and a more variety of shows, um, the, again, selfishly, I have um, such I wake up and I'm like, oh, I have to learn all these. I want to learn all these things. I'm lucky enough that people come and teach me the basics, and I'm grateful for that. But if I could just spend all day learning all this stuff, I absolutely would. But I can't. So yes, teaching is the best way of learning. But if you have a weekly show where you teach different things, or people teach you different things, it's going to create a lot of FOMO. But I'm not here to complain.
That's It's very important, I think, for people to understand that you can teach at any level, right? You can teach super advanced concepts, really basic concepts, and it's just going to enrich your knowledge, even if it's making you a better speaker about these things. So maybe you don't know any more new facts, but you know how to better explain it, and you
Hmm.
know how to better communicate it to somebody else. That's how I became able to talk about JavaScript, because
Okay.
I did Finsweet hacks. I
Right.
had the JavaScript developer put comments on every single line so that I knew what that line was saying. And after 10 recorded videos, now I know what all these lines mean, and I can now communicate about this. I can't write JavaScript, but I can talk to you about it. I can maybe offer a logical way to approach a problem
Yeah.
because I taught it. And I taught it even before I knew it. Like you said, I didn't know what I was talking about.
Right.
But after enough education, I did, and I became better at communicating that.
And one thing I will say to folks who are interested in teaching and are wondering, like, do I have something to teach? Because that's what you're saying here. You're right. You're saying like, oh, I wanted to teach JavaScript. I thought it was important, but no one watched. Right. One thing that's surprising about teaching on the web is that no matter what your interests are or what your expertise is, the web is like large enough to have people who are like, yeah, that's interesting to me, right? Like again, if you would have said like, who wants to spend 4 hours like learning how to write Airtable scripts 3 years ago or 4 years, whatever, from a noob like me, I would have said like not that many people, right? But that it's a super popular, and so no matter what your niche is, mine was like advanced no code automation. Like all my friends who don't work in tech were like loser, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But there are people who are interested in the same things you are, no matter how niche, no matter how out there it seems there's a place where people want to learn from you, and so there's sometimes tough to find, but don't be discouraged.
That's great. That's great. That transitions really well into the next part of the show, which is about advice. And really, I think this whole episode has been about giving good advice. But now let's give advice to people specifically who want to follow your path. People who say, "Wow, Aron is great with content. Aron is working these awesome jobs in tech. Like, how do I follow Aron's path? What can I do to, to be more aligned with this success?"
Okay. um it's weird, it's weird to come on this and give folks advice, because I have like the path, I know the path that it took, and again it's like very it's very easy to sit here and be like, here are the three things you need to do, and it's like, become a millionaire with these 5 tips, right? And the world doesn't work that way. And so with that said, that's caveat number one. Caveat number two is, if you want to stream, you cannot stream on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. That's if I see you following my advice and streaming on Wednesdays at 1 p.m., unacceptable. Unacceptable. You can only do one of the two. If you stream on Wednesdays at 1 p.m., you cannot listen to me. And if you listen to me, you cannot stream on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. I don't need more competition. But ultimately, the only piece of advice that I have, and I've already shared it unfortunately on this show, is, what is one thing that you enjoy doing that you can do regularly? That's it. If you don't enjoy creating content, don't do it. You're not going to get through it. It's going to suck, right? And if you can't do it regularly, don't do it. It's going to suck. It's going to be, very difficult to get through the hump. That's true for blog posts. It's true for Twitter. It's true for work. It's true for project management. It's good for cooking. Um,
Life.
right. Yeah. And weirdly, the things you don't do are not the things you get good at and that people enjoy seeing you do or learning from you. And so that is really the only thing that, for me, when I look back, is what I think I'm grateful for, and explains where it is today, is that I was like, rain or shine, people show up or don't show up. I got a stream on Wednesdays. It used to be at 6 p.m. By the way, shout out to the people who were joining me on the stream at 6 p.m. on Eastern time on Wednesdays. And I was like in my bedroom, just like sweating bullets. You're like, oh my God, does this I think my first 5 streams, I start by saying, am I live? And then I would like look around, and then I realized like I have no way to know if I'm live, so I'm just gonna go with it. You know what I mean? Um, and so yeah, just do a thing, do it regularly, make sure you enjoy doing it, and good things will come. They might not be as lucrative or as great as you'd hope, maybe, but if you take that joy uh, um, in doing them, and hopefully in getting a little bit of traction in what your goals are, that will be enough motivation for you to continue. um so yes, Penny, I man, those 6 p.m. streams were tough. They were tough, I agree. After work, just, oh man, yeah, I remember I would like, even today after a stream, I like go lay down in my bed for a while. Those 6 p.m.s, especially that they were just like, I was just learning how OBS worked. I was, yeah, those were like, I was stressed out those days, but I'm still stressed out a little bit on Wednesdays, but yeah, it's gotten much better. So appreciate it. Thank you for joining, by the way, on 6 p.m.s on Wednesday, Penny. It means a lot.
Great, great advice. And I'm glad we said it again. We were talking about this in the beginning of the episode, but now we hear it again. This is crucial for positive mental health. Doesn't matter if you're talking about content, you're talking about work, you're talking about life, you're talking about the food you eat. It all relates to just finding things that you enjoy and finding things that bring you happiness. So, yeah, it's just crucial information. So, thank you for saying that. Next section, let's talk about the challenges and your next steps. So, Aron, what do you see as challenges in the next 3 months, 6 months, year of your professional career?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the first is, being a valuable member to the community here. I'm new. I was maybe in the other room. Now I'm in the room trying to make friends. I knew some faces, right, but I don't know all the faces. So I think for me, the biggest challenge in the next 3-4 months is listening to you all. Is, hey, I don't understand this. I want to learn that. This is giving me, challenges. How do I do? Hopefully those are related to things I'm good at, like automation and business logic and thinking through things like that. So my main challenge, and this is a call to you all watching and watching back, is, what word are you scared of? What gives you angst when a client asks you to do that? Or what would you like to do more of? Right? To go from, designer to front end developer to now full stack visual developer, right? That's when I joined Webflow. That's kind of what I pitched to the team is, can we turn people into full stack visual developers? Can they understand the backend? Can they do JavaScript, right? And continuing on the amazing work you've done, and um, really making folks I don't want to use the word better, but use the word like, just expand what they're able to do, right? And what I mean by that, specifically with things like authentication, getting closer to web applications and unlocking those things that are stopping you from, like, what is a redirect? How do I pass form stuff to another place? They've got 8 things that they need to figure out. Images, how do I create auto images? Like, there's so many ideas that I have around things that I think this community would benefit from, but I don't want to be like the person who's like, here's what's valuable to you all. I want to hear from everyone here what that is. And so my ask from everyone, there are 2 asks. One is like, informally, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, email aron.korenblit@webflow.com. Through the forums, you're going to see me more and more. And maybe sometimes more formally, I'm going to ask people like, hey, can you submit this form? Can you help me understand what this is? Please, it's super valuable to me. And I want to make sure that the the content and the teaching I do as part of Webflow is useful to you all. So that also applies if it's not useful. Hey, this sucks. I want to hear it. Tell me about it. Why does it suck? And hopefully, yeah, just so many things. Like, Alex, you want to learn auto images? Great, let's do it. There's so much. I've got 50 options for that. Let's do it.
It's your next journey in education, helping the people get to that next level. We talked about this in the beginning of the episode, that in this tech industry, a lot of people are always thinking, how do I improve? How do I get better? How do I learn more? How do I go from V1 to V2? And what you just said, that's the path for a lot of people. How do I understand how APIs work? What's a back end? What's a front end? What's the difference between these two? Right? These are things that you may understand as a Webflow user, but it's not directly taught to us, because that's
Right.
not what Webflow is. It's not educating on everything of the web, just really specific things of the web. And the web is huge. So great. Please follow up with that request Aron just made. Tell him what you're thinking about. Tag him in a problem that you're having with Webflow and some advanced integration. And
Yeah,
maybe he
or
can answer it.
frankly,
Maybe yeah.
yeah. I think the work that I'm hoping to do like extends, somewhat, not I wouldn't say beyond Webflow, but there are concepts that I think we need to kind of understand generally, right? So even if it's like, hey, I don't know what this is, and I don't know what's a refresh token. Like, I heard that somewhere. Can you help me understand that? Or, you know, why can't I do this? Right? What is S3? Right? These like very, you know, just banal questions, if you will. Don't feel free. I really want to understand what it is that folks don't understand. Often I don't understand it either, but I'm extremely motivated to make sure that you do. So I will find the person who does, and help you understand it. So um yeah, that's pretty much my job now. Just helping you all learn stuff, and it's really exciting.
Can you share any Webflow information about what you're doing at Webflow that we
Yeah.
may not know? So like in the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, like what are you doing inside the company?
Um, One, learning Webflow, soaking up all the knowledge. There's a lot here. I think I'm happy to share a little bit. It won't be the answer you hope, right? But I'm happy to share a little bit about both, uh, um, what I'm hoping to do in the next 3 months, and what are the kind of elements, the areas that I'm hoping to help people and teach. So the first thing is like, how do I teach at Webflow? Is a question, right? And that's one that I'm hoping to answer pretty quickly. And I think that's one that will answer your question here, which is like, is it a weekly live stream? Is it TikToks? It's unclear. It's unclear. I love streaming. I would love to stream. Also, streaming is not always the best medium. Like, people don't have an hour, right? Then they want the 5 minute. Can we find a middle ground? What topics do we want to teach? What format, right? You've got this great format here. I've got a format at AATT. Like, what is the format? Which one? So that is like my number one question, is like, what am I going to teach, and how am I going to teach it, and how do I make sure that it is valuable to people like you, and to everyone in the chat and people watching back. And again, that's feedback for me. If you're like, hey, can you cut this down, or hey, can you like go way deeper on this, I want to hear it, right? Because I don't have like a good answer of like, this is what we're going to teach. Now, in terms of product areas, or concepts, happy to share a little more there as well. Not a designer, not a great designer. I'll be completely blunt with everyone. I'm not going to teach you how to animate, do cool. Like, I might implement that stuff, but I'm not going to be your design. You know, that's not me. That's not what I do great. So, but as you may have noticed, like, Webflow is going, you know, much more coming. Things like Logic, memberships. much more APIs. So that will be more of the things I probably will focus on, more of quote unquote technical things. I actually think the designer is quite technical, so that's why I'm putting quotes. Um, and I would say the things that maybe intimidate people a little more, right? Um, on the web that require maybe a little more context and that you're maybe a little less familiar, always with the objective of expanding what it is that everyone in this community can do, whether that's offering to clients for their own web applications. But yeah, so not sure what the format is. It'll probably be a mix of live streaming and on demand in some type of format. The topics, a little clearer, probably things like backend automation, logic, technical concepts, to make them more accessible to everyone in the Webflow community.
Nice. I think that's what we want to hear. We want to hear this. I want to hear this more technical content. That's something I've been waiting for, and I've been trying to push at Finsweet. That's why we do a lot of technical content,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a little bit of a hole in this ecosystem for that type of content. Let's bring up a couple of comments, starting with Naked Tech. We're just going to run through these. Naked Tech, I think Google's autocomplete can be quite annoying with multi-step forms with interactions. Nice. That's an interesting one. Sean Duval, I met Aron at State of Flow, super nice guy and very inspirational community leader. Congrats on joining Webflow. Nice. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
And
Appreciate it. It was good
Josiah,
meeting you.
I was surprised when I saw you in the Webflow logic as an admin. It was cool. You already helped me with some APIs, so thank you for that. Nice. Already positive remarks. I like that.
Yeah,
Great.
that's before I went on vacation. So, Josiah, appreciate that. Hopefully, I'm saying your name right, and hopefully you've got that. I think it was Mailchimp, or I think I used Mailchimp as the example. So hopefully you've got that connected. But yeah, absolutely. Just truly excited to be here, excited to be part of the community, and really hoping to to level everyone up. And I, I hesitate to use the word technical. I would say maybe a little more foreign, concepts for the Webflow
Nice.
community who are used to CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, abstractions in Webflow. But yeah, absolutely, and excited to, just excited to be here.
Love it. Now with the 3 minutes we have left, let's ask, how can the community help you?
Hmm.
So, Aron, this is a time for you to share your initiatives. We're going to share some links.
Yeah,
What can people do to help?
I mean, I think okay on the Webflow front, we've talked about this. Tell me the things you don't understand. I want to be there for you. I want to better understand what you don't understand and what you're hoping to learn. Um, Two, give me feedback, good, bad. This sucks. This is great. Do more of this. Don't do that. Always great to hear. And that is the life, the lifeline, bloodline. I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying, of improvement for me. Um, on the personal front, automate all the things is going strong. If you do enjoy that type of stuff, I'd love to see you either in the chat, watching back. Again, there, give me feedback. Big focus at the moment is the ultimate guide to Airtable, which is kind of a revamp of the course from 3 years ago. I It's bad. It's a bad course. No, it's not a bad course. It's just outdated. It's very outdated, and just been really plowing through, um, uh, updating it and making that better. Um, what else? What else? Not dying, rock climbing. That's really what my focus is right now. I went rock climbing a couple weeks ago, and it's just absolutely terrifying. So, yeah, just again, tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what you want to learn, and I will do my absolute best, whether through automate all things, through Webflow or otherwise, to make that concept more approachable and to, you know, make you a better visual developer.
Excellent transparency. I love it. And I'll add, definitely buy the course. Worth it. Just go
It's
ahead and buy that.
70% done. I'm still happy to send out coupon codes or whatever, but
Yep.
it's a work in progress. I do want to. It's been something I've been thinking a lot for a while. But yeah, AATT, there's 100 streams there for your perusing and for your learning. And make sure to keep watching all the amazing content that you put out, Joe. And just thank you for everything you do. Every time I'm like, how can I be more like Joe in Finsweet? So that is a real motivator as well.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Cool.
Okay, so that is the end of the hour. Tomorrow, we'll be live with Alex Iglesias, and we're going to look at the Google Maps API and then filter through content on a Google map. So we'll use a little bit of attributes API filtering magic. We will go and use, of course, Google Maps API. And I'm mentioning this right now because it's right in line with what you're talking
Absolutely.
about. People have asked us about maps. People have asked us about how do I integrate search on a map and business directories,
Mhm.
and this is exactly what we're going for. So
Yeah, absolutely.
tomorrow, technical content, 9 a.m. Eastern, and this was a great stream. I had a great time talking to you, Aaron. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Joe. It was an honor to be here and just really excited to be part of the community in a more official fashion. And yeah, I'm here to serve all of you. So let me know what it is that you're hoping that I teach or that you would like to learn more about. And yeah, just super excited. So thank you, Dale, Johnny, Penny, Josiah. See you again in the forum. Dale, Alex, huge thanks and excited to be here.
Love it. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Enjoy, keep learning, and we'll see you soon.